Completion rates for graduate students are also on the minds of many. I saw a recent study that suggests that personal family commitments and financial are the two major reasons that graduate students don't complete. But I also think there's a sense of isolation and career uncertainty involved in graduate education, and that we need to do an annual assessment not only of student achievement, but also ways that we can support students who are in high stress and feeling that almost on a daily basis that they're not sure they made the right choice and that there are other choices out there. And if it's family and financial as the two major, I think we know what we need to do. We need to support our graduate students, and we need to find ways to help everyone balance family and profession. And finally, I would think that the work that we're doing around attracting well-prepared minority students across the state needs to continue. The McNair's Scholar Program, specifically preparing undergraduates for graduate study, is so critical. Our recruitment and fellowship programs that we have, again, for underserved individuals need to continue to be supported and funded. And we need to, again, have more awareness workshops, not only for underrepresented students, but for everyone, about pursuing graduate education and how to apply and how to get financial aid and what kinds of opportunities are available. I'll close with coming back to some of my thoughts from this morning, and that's really about the importance of educational leaders in attempting to change the conversation nationally and statewide. This country needs to invest in innovation, in thinkers, and in leaders, and the return on investment might not necessarily be immediate. We might not get a return on investment this year or next, but longer term and perhaps more difficult measures need to creep into the conversation. And I go back to some thoughts about what if this country hadn't developed national parks? Where would we be today? There was no immediate return on investment of that particular strategy. There was a longer term, good for the country type of conversation, and we've lost that in public higher education. So I'll stop because this is a big panel and I've already rambled too much. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, since you have Simon Greenwald's remarks, and Bob asked me day before yesterday to say a few things, I'll speak very briefly. Illinois State University in Normal has roughly 20,000 students. 3,000 of those are graduate students. We have master's programs in every department or school that offers an undergraduate degree except for physics and philosophy. And I know it isn't the letter P because psychology is thriving programs. But beyond that point, there's a very drastic drop-off. And then we have doctoral programs in only 6 academic departments. Those 6 academic departments, moreover, are clustered in only 3 of our 6 colleges. And so what I'd like to talk about a little bit today focuses on the tension of being a doctoral granting institution, of which we're very proud, but being a school where at the same time the vast majority of our students, it's about a 10-to-1 ratio, are master's students. So my remarks actually center on a metaphor. Looking at the path forward here, I mean, we've seen it described as hydraulics in the leaky pipeline. And there's a nice little graphic somebody had at CGS of people falling out of the science pipeline. And then the video shows it as a sort of map, path line of people walking along. But this one reminded me of the airport, and it looks like one of those moving walkways. And so it's sort of, my remarks center around the fact that the moving walkway may be ending. And so being a school that has many master's programs and a handful of doctoral programs requires right now sometimes serving students by not developing programs. There is a tendency in the schools and in the colleges that do not have doctoral programs of seeing the next step on the path forward. If one has a good master's program, of course, you should have a doctoral program next, as if there were some sort of maturational process at work. And so part of it involves, my job involves sitting down with departments and helping them not develop programs. And instead to focus attention on what are some very good master's programs. Because what I've seen happen in some cases, and we have seen some growth into doctoral programs, our most recent two are in nursing, a PhD program to prepare future nursing faculty members, and our doctor in audiology degree, both of which have an excellent reason for existing and are thriving. So we're not doing no growth, but we are looking with a more judicious eye at growth of programs, and I suspect we will need to get even more tougher as the financial situation gets more demanding. So the question is, how do you sit down with people who want to have a doctoral program and talk about why it might not be a good idea to have a doctoral program? One of the signs of trouble is always, our faculty are so good, we have to have a doctoral program. To unpack all of the unhappiness that goes with that assumption would take too long for a whole session. But we need to do more to make it clear that running a good master's program is itself important. Every year at CGS, we see sessions on the importance of good master's programs, and I'm not sure that always gets communicated at the campus level. All of our faculty came from doctoral institutions, and they mostly think very highly of those institutions, and emulation is the sincerest form of flattery, but it doesn't always work well. We're seeing moving walkways ending in terms of a path of students who always expected to get a bachelor's degree and to go on to school. In my own case, when I told my parents that I was thinking about getting a master's degree, they weren't entirely pleased. Not that they didn't have high hopes for me, but it was a stretch for them, with the help of scholarships, to pay for a bachelor's degree. And as far as they knew, it was sort of an infinite string of tuition payments. They didn't know. I knew at the time and could reassure them that you didn't usually keep paying tuition for graduate school in Spanish, that there were assistantships. And so I look at what I have to do now to help students who never thought of graduate school to think of graduate school. We don't have very many first-generation bachelor students anymore at Illinois State. 20 years ago, when I came to Illinois State, we did have quite a few first-generation bachelor students. But we have a lot of first-generation graduate students. And I think at the high school level, counselors have done a good job to explain college and how one goes to college and how one pays for college. But so far, we don't have anything really in place about graduate school. So we're trying to address that on our campus. We have posters around on what it costs to go to graduate school. We have this series called Graduate School 101 on how to apply to graduate school. But I'm trying to supply that knowledge, including that in most cases you don't pay rack rate for graduate school, because we put out a statement that says, here's our estimated cost of attendance, and the students blanch. They've already accumulated loans. Well, in most cases, we can help them with cost of attendance, but there's no reason they would know that. So that's my job to tell them. So I contrast my experience, where nobody in my family had ever been to a bachelor's degree, much less a master's or unthinkably a doctorate, and my two sons, who are both in graduate school. And the easy conversations we have about, oh, did you get that form in? And by the way, have you applied for this? And then think about all of the students for whom that's not happening. So part of the reason that a whole lot of our current students are in graduate school is they got on that moving walkway. They got on that moving walkway when they were born to particular parents, and they're ready to go forward. And we're seeing people who aren't on the moving walkway, and we don't have a lot of entry points.